Hello, friends. Welcome back. If you need the reminder, I'm Mrs. Fithian, and I'm really glad you're joining us today. We have another math adventure with our forest friends. Today, they're in the forest, enjoying the sunshine and one another's company when they notice something peculiar or strange. Are you ready to find out what it is? By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to solve word problems with the change or the action unknown. What that means is we'll be finding out how much we're adding to or taking away a certain number. All right, get ready, sit back, and let's get started with our story, Forest Friends Counting Clues. One sunny day in a forest so bright, four best friends played in golden light. Marvin Mouse, so small and clever, Sally Squirrel, the quickest ever, Gina Giraffe, so tall and wise, and Robert Rabbit with bouncing highs. They laughed and ran so full of cheer when Marvin Mouse said, "Come, look here. Something is strange. Oh, what a sight. The lily pads have taken flight." They rushed to the pond, their eyes open wide. Only 3 lily pads danced on the tide. "But there were 8 before," cried Sally Squirrel. Her fluffy tail gave a worried twirl. Gina Giraffe stretched her long neck high. To solve this puzzle, let's give it a try. We'll count back from 8 and see how many lily pads have drifted free. Together they counted 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We counted out 5, it's clear to see. 5 lily pads have floated away. That's the unknown part today. Robert Rabbit shouted with glee. I know this clue was meant to be. At last we've cracked the mystery. 8 take away 5 leaves 3, you see. Just then Sally Squirrel gasped in surprise, her paws on her head and wide open eyes. My acorns are missing. I had 10 before, but now there are only 4 on the floor. Marvin Mouse pleaded, come on, team. Things aren't always what they seem. We'll count up from 4 to get to 10, to discover the acorns missing then. Together they counted 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's keep it straight. That's 6 numbers, Gina Giraffe did say, so 6 acorns have gone away. Just then above they saw a sight. Blue jays swooping left and right. Each one carried an acorn high, flapping their wings as they soared in the sky. Look, cried Robert Rabbit, pointing his paw. They took the acorns in their claw. They must have thought they were left to share and took them home with love and care. Sally Squirrel laughed. What a delight! The mystery's solved. It all ends right. The friends all smiled. Their work was done. 2 great puzzles solved with fun. The sun dipped low, painting the sky. Gina Giraffe held her head up high. With teamwork and wonder, we found today that together we can light the way. And thinking helps us understand the world around us, both sea and land. Marvin Mouse said with a knowing grin, solving puzzles was a win. The end. Wow, those forest friends sure are smart. And they have a lot of fun solving math problems together every single time. Before we get to our fun, let's take a minute and recap or remember what happened in the story. So where were our friends today? Yeah, that's an easy one. They were in the forest again. All right, and what was weird about the lily pads? Something was strange or odd. Yeah, they were floating, right? It looked like they were lifting up into the sky, but some were missing. And then poor Sally Squirrel, what happened? Her acorns were missing again. I think that happened a few days ago. And how did everything end? Yeah, you got it. They used math to solve the problem. They figured out how many lily pads had lifted away and how many acorns were taken away. So we are going to have a little fun of our own while we revisit some math concepts and learn some new ones. All right, let's look back at the story at the lily pads. They rushed to the pond, their eyes open wide. Only 3 lily pads danced on the tide. But there were 8 before, cried Sally Squirrel. Her fluffy tail gave a whirl. Now, this is pretty interesting, first of all, that they are lifting in the air. But the second thing is that some are missing. So we need to go back and look. It says here that there had been 8, and now there's only 3. But we need to know what happened or how we can figure out where they went. Thankfully, we have Gina Giraffe who's going to help us. Gina Giraffe stretched her long neck high. To solve this puzzle, let's give it a try. We'll count back from 8 and see how many lily pads have drifted free. Now, I put a little box around count back from 8 because that's exactly what we're going to do here in a minute. So together they counted 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We counted out 5. It's clear to see. Now, I'm going to pause right here because there's a couple ways we could do this. You can see in the book that we have the giraffe making the hops that we talked about a few days ago when we met. So she's starting with 8, which was her total. Then she's hopping back to the number that we know were left. We know from the story there were 3 lily pads left. So we're going to start here on 8, which was our total, and go back to what we know. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Now, if we count our hops, and let's count those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's where we get this, the other unknown part. So that is 5. We can also do it a different way, and I'm going to show you on your hands. Okay, so if we know the known part, which was 8, that's how many we started with, we can say it out loud and count down until we get to 3. All right, so it's important we say it out loud because that's where we'll stop. We want to stop when we get to 3. So we'll say 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. 3 was my known part, but how many fingers am I holding up? A whole hand, that's 5. So 5 is the missing part. Okay, so we found it this way, and we found it by counting and using our hands. Let's keep going. That's the unknown part today, and we've said that a few times. That's that vocabulary we need to remember, unknown part. Robert Rabbit shouted with glee, I know this clue was meant to be. At last we've cracked the mystery. 8 take away 5 leaves 3, you see. That's the way it would sound if we were to write our number sentence. So I'm going to put that up here. 8, which is what we started with, take away 5, that tells us we're subtracting, is 3, or leaves 3. Okay, great job. All right. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to practice a few more problems like this, and then we'll go back into the story and see what happened with those acorns. Okay, I'm going to use some frogs and logs, which is a toy or an object that I brought last time. All right, so I'm going to put these right here and give you a second to count on your own. So count the frogs on the log. All right, let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 frogs on a log. Now, some of these frogs are going to hop off. I'm going to turn away so you can't see how many I'm taking. All right, now let's look. There are 2 frogs left. Count with me. 1, 2. So how many frogs hopped off the log? Now again, there's a few ways we could do this. It would be easy if I just opened my hand and showed you how many I had hiding here, but I don't want to do that. We can use 2 strategies. One is by drawing a picture, and you know that's my favorite. I like to have a visual. But also we can do the same thing we just did with this problem from the story by counting on. So how many did we have to start with? We had 7. So I'm going to start with my 2 that we have now, and I'm going to count up to get to the 7. Okay, so we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many is that? Again, we have a whole hand, so 5. 5 is my change. So we took away 5. Now we'll check in just a minute, but let's go ahead and draw a picture as well. All right, so I'm going to do dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This was how many frogs we started with. And then I took some away and was left with 2. I'm going to put a box around these to show that this is what I was left with. This is what was still there. Now the ones I didn't circle are the ones I took away. So let's put a mark through those as we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we got 5 when we counted out loud. We got 5 in our picture. Let me get these frogs back and see if we're right. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did it. Nice job. Okay, I can also do this using a strategy we talked about last time, which is the read, draw, write strategy. Now, this kind of puts everything together. We're going to read a word problem or a story problem. We are going to draw a picture, so we have our visual, and then we're going to write the number, sentence, or equation. So let's look at that. And it might help if I erase my board. Okay, here we go. So the first time you're just going to listen. You know I'm going to read this to you twice because it's good practice, but the first time just listen. Enjoy the story. I put 5 pencils on a desk. Some pencils fell off. Now 2 pencils are on the desk. How many pencils fell off? Okay. I'm going to read it again, and this time when I'm reading it, I want you to be thinking about the picture that you are visualizing or the picture you're making in your brain while I'm speaking. Then we'll see if we can make that over here on the draw side to help us solve the problem. Think about what we're really wanting to know. I put 5 pencils on a desk. Some pencils fell off. Now 2 pencils are on the desk. How many pencils fell off? All right, so in your mind, you should have been able to think about a picture that we could put up here for draw. In my mind, it's always easier to draw circles, so that's what I'm going to do. So how many did we start with? 5. There were 5 on a desk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some pencils fell off. Do I know how many pencils fell? No. That's the unknown part about this problem. How many pencils are still on the desk? 2. There's 2 left. So I'm going to put a box around those 2, and I'm just going to put a D for desk. There's 2 left on the desk. So how many pencils fell off? Well, anything that's not on the desk is what fell off. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3. Now, the last part of this strategy is we are going to write a sentence that shows what just happened. So let's start at the beginning of our problem. I put 5 pencils on a desk. How many? 5. Some pencils fell off. We know from our drawing, those fell off. We took them away, which means we would subtract. Whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see, we'll just leave it. Okay, now how many pencils were left on the desk? 2, that's right. So we took away 3, that's what I started to write, and we're left with 2. All right, and the last part is, what were we really trying to figure out? And that was, how many pencils fell off? Well, now down here we can say, blank pencils fell off. We know how many. The answer was 2. Do you see how this strategy is similar to all the things we've been doing? We're just taking them and all putting them together into one big action. All right, we're going to try one more before we hop back into the story. Okay, same thing, pencils on a desk. This time we'll go just a bit quicker. I put 7 pencils on a desk. Some pencils fell off again. Now there are 4 pencils on the desk. How many pencils fell off? Again, I'll read it one more time. I want you to think about that picture in your brain, and then we'll get it over here on the board. I put 7 pencils on a desk. Some pencils fell off. Now 4 pencils are on the desk. How many pencils fell off? Let's hop into our picture. Okay, I put 7 pencils on a desk. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Some of the pencils fell off. Not sure how many, but I do know how many I had left. 4. So I'm going to draw a box around these 4 because those 4 were left on the desk. And again, I'm using D for desk. How many pencils fell off? Well, if I look here, 1, 2, 3 are not on the desk anymore. Okay, let's write our sentence. We started with 7 pencils. How many fell off? 3. And how many were left on the desk? 4. So we could answer the question, how many pencils fell off, by saying 4 pencils fell off. All right, if you followed along with me, great job. Now that we've practiced some take from problems, we're going to go back in the story and look at some add to problems. All right. Just then, Sally Squirrel gasped in surprise, her paws on her head and wide open eyes. My acorns are missing. I had 10 before, but now there are only 4 on the floor. Poor Sally. This happens to her every time. Okay, thankfully, Marvin Mouse comes to her rescue and knows exactly how to solve the problem. Let's read. Marvin Mouse pleaded, "Come on, team. Things aren't always what they seem. We'll count up from 4 to get to 10 to discover the acorns missing then." Together they counted 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's keep it straight. That's 6 numbers, Gina Giraffe did say. So 6 acorns have gone away. All right, you'll notice that I put a box around count up from 4. So again, we have 2 ways to do this. One is by counting the hops. So we have our squirrel over here. He started with 4. That's or she, I apologize, Sally is a she. We started with 4, and that's the part that we knew. That's what we had left. So we're going to count up to 10, which was our total, what we started with. So let's count. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I go back and count my hops, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's where this 6 comes from. We can also do this on our hands, which is starting at the 4 and counting up to 10. So let's do that. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And how many fingers am I holding up? 6. That's right. So either way, using the hops in the picture or counting out loud and using our hands, we get the same answer. Let's try a few of these on our own and see how we do. All right. We're going to go right back to frogs on a log. So I'm going to start with a different number. Let's put these little guys back on here. Maybe. All right, so take a look at how many I'm starting with. Okay, let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 frogs on a log. Some more frogs hop on. But now I have to do this without you looking. So we're going to be starting with 5, and you're going to tell me how many more have hopped on. Okay, so how many do we have now? Yeah, I heard someone say 9, but we're going to count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so how many frogs hopped on the log? Or how many frogs did Mrs. Fithian add to the log? Okay, let's go and do a picture, and then we'll come back to this. All right, so we started with how many? We had 5, and then we added on to get to our total, which is 9. Here's my original 5. Now I'm going to switch colors to make this a little bit easier to see and also drop down a little bit. This was my first group, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So however many I just drew, that's how many hopped on. And how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? And that's exactly what I did here. If we wanted to try it with our hand, we could also say we had 5 to start with. So we're going to count on from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's adding 4. So either strategy would work, whichever one's your favorite. All right, let's move on and try this again in a word problem or a story problem and see what we know. All right, this one says, Peg has 7 carrots. Her sister gives her some more. Now she has 15 carrots. How many carrots did her sister give her? We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to read this one more time. You're going to be imagining or picturing in your mind what could be happening, and then we'll bring it to life over here. Peg has 11 carrots. Her sister gives her some more. Now she has 15 carrots. How many carrots did her sister give her? Okay, this one's a little trickier to write, but I'll show you, or to draw, I'm sorry, but let's do this together. Peg has 11 carrots. So I'm going to make 11 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Her sister gives her some more. Now she has 15. We don't know, that's the unknown part. We know we're adding 2, but we don't know how many. But we know we need to end with 15. So what I'm going to do is I can switch colors. This time I won't, to show you what you could do if you're doing this at home with a pencil. I'm going to move to this side and continue drawing. I stopped at 11, so I'm going to keep counting until I get to this total. So I had 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Do you see how I stopped when my mouth said 15, which was my total? Okay, so how many did we just add? 4, that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see if we can write our sentence. We started with 11. Peg had 11 carrots. Her sister gave her some more, which now we know is 4, plus 4 because we're adding 2. This is an add 2 problem. And we ended with 15. So let's see if we can answer our question. How many carrots did her sister give her? Her sister gave her 4 carrots. Did you follow along? Awesome. We're going to try one more of these. All right, let's see what we have now. All right, carrots to cupcakes. Here we go. Sarah had 6 cupcakes. She made some more. Now there are 10 cupcakes. How many cupcakes did Sarah make? All right, same thing. I'll read it one more time. You think about that picture in your head, and then we'll bring it to life on the drawing board. All right, Sarah had 6 cupcakes. She made some more. Now there are 10 cupcakes. How many cupcakes did Sarah make? Here we go. We're starting out with 6 cupcakes. 4, 5, 6. She made some more, but we don't know how many. Now there are 10. So I'm going to keep drawing on this side until I get to my total, which is 10. So I want to make sure I'm saying it out loud as well. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And how many more did we add? Again, the answer is 4. So let's go down here and write our sentence. Sarah had 6 cupcakes. That is a terrible 6. We're going to scribble that out, and I'm going to try that again. Whew. Sarah had 6 cupcakes. Not even sure that's better. All right. She made some more, which we learned was 4. And how many did she have at the end? 10. So let's see if we can answer our question. How many cupcakes did Sarah make? Sarah made 4 cupcakes. If you hung with me through that, great job. I am really, really impressed with how hard you've been working today, following along in the story, going through all these different ways that we can add to or take from in math. But before we go, let's talk about a way that you can continue this math fun at home wherever you are. All right. We are going to learn a game called I Have, I Need. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to need some objects. They could be pennies, crayons, snacks, buttons, socks, anything like that. I chose crayons today. So you are going to need a number of crayons. I'd say anything under 10 is fine. And we are going to pick a number. So I'm just picking 4, just a random number, and I'm putting 4 crayons right here. Okay? Then you are going to ask whoever's going to play this game with you, a friend, a family member. I'd say your dog, but your dog can't talk unless it's special. So let's pick a friend, and they're going to tell you how many more you need to make another number. So it doesn't make sense until you see it. So I have 4 crayons. I want to know how many more crayons I need to get to 9. So think about that for a minute. I have 4. I want to get to 9. How many more will I need? Okay. So I see somebody holding up their hand. So what we're going to do is count on our fingers first, and then we'll check by adding the actual crayons. We have 4. I'm going to count on from 4 and see if I can get to 9. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many more did I need? Yes, 5. That's exactly right. Let's count these out and see if we're correct. We have 4. We said we were going to need 5, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I put them all together, let's count and see if we got our total, which was 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Awesome job. So see if you can try this at home. You can wow somebody and show them how much you've been learning about adding to and taking from in math problems. Boys and girls, I had a blast learning with you today, talking about how to solve problems with the change or the action unknown. Whether we were adding to or taking from, you did a really nice job. I hope you'll try this activity at home, and I can't wait to go on the next adventure together. So until next time, keep counting, keep learning, and I'll see you later. Bye.